as we go out to the River Islands guest line. Now joining us is Mike Tirico of NBC Sports, the voice of Sunday Night Football, the lead NBC Olympics host who joins Chris Collinsworth in the booth for Cowboys and Niners, Sunday Night Football, 5:20 Pacific time on NBC, and, of course, the Peacock app. And, Mike, I don't know why we didn't have Kentucky Derby in here, because I think your most impressive work, the hell with the Paris Olympics and Snoop Dogg and Carmelo and everybody. I thought the Kentucky Derby, I asked these guys, and I was blown away by the production of the Kentucky Derby. It was a great race, a photo finish. We didn't have any idea who won for about 10 minutes. And I'm thinking to myself, how does Mike Tirico stay on top of all this stuff? And good morning to you, Mike.
Well, good morning. The Breeders' Cup is coming up in a week or so here, so we got another big horse racing day. I do love the Derby. I would tell fans who have the means and the ability to do it, if you're going to get to an event once, that's the one to get to. It's such a cool and neat event. I had always wanted to be there, and then when I started working for NBC, got the chance to go, and I'm just counting in my head. I think I've done the last 7, and it's one of my favorite weeks of the year by far. So the Derby's pretty cool, but so are Sunday nights, and we're excited to be out here in Santa Clara getting set for what really has turned into a huge game for both teams for different reasons maybe than we thought.
Mike, we'll get into the game. We will. But we're also in Steph Curry country. And seeing you after the gold medal match get a chance to interview Steph Curry, you just captured the moment. And for Warrior fans, we know what it's like to be watching and rooting and supporting Steph Curry. It's just an unbelievable experience. The guy is Mahomes of the NBA for us. And for you, how special was that moment? Because you've been on some great calls. I mean, the Bowman play for me is up there, the last play, pick of the stick. There's so many great ones. How big of a moment was that, talking to Steph?
Yeah, it was cool. So I'm still angry at myself that I did not take anything out of the booth from that last game at Candlestick, because there was a chance, outside chance, the 49ers could have earned a home playoff game, and there would have been one more game. So we really didn't know if it was the complete last football game at the Stick. And that was a great night. Gosh, you bring back good memories bringing that up. But, yeah, I've been around Steph, whether it was my years covering the NBA and looking forward to getting back to that next year, or being around him at the various golf things that he has done, and you cross paths with him. And he's such a great interview. So even though you're not face-to-face at the moment, there is a relationship and a connection, and you get the guys right as they come off the court. And just to be able to talk to him. And, some athletes, you ask questions, and you're going to get kind of a pat answer. But Steph is going to give you something thoughtful and something meaningful. And at that big moment, he put it in perspective for USA Basketball and for himself as well. I just thought that was a privilege for me to be in the host chair for that game and be able to talk to Steph after that moment. What a moment. And it's right there with among my favorite moments of the Olympic Games, no doubt about it. Steph, and it's been great to see the go to sleep emoji come to life in different places around sports. It's so cool. Love watching Steph, and I had a chance to visit with Steve Kerr during the Olympics. He came into our studio right by the Eiffel Tower as well, and see Steve and his family. It was just so great to reconnect with all those guys on our way back to starting our NBA coverage almost exactly a year from now, because we'll be there for the opening night of the 2025 season. So if the Warriors win a banner, we'll be in San Francisco to open up the season.
Oh, we love that. We love that out here. Yeah, we do get goosebumps. I don't even know if that was your biggest moment, though, Mike. Let's be honest. Snoop Dogg in the booth with doing the Olympics. I mean, that was riveting television. I'm not going to lie. You knew how to handle Snoop so well. Snoop was a great addition for you guys about the Stewards in the booth. Tell it, just before we get into the game, I know we're stalling here, but the Snoop Dogg interactions was phenomenal.
I'm happy to talk about all of it, man. Trust me. Snoop was so cool. He was so cool. And I'll tell you why it worked, I think. One, Snoop didn't take away from the competition. He enhanced our coverage of it. Usually Snoop was on either before an event or after, not during an event. Snoop embraced the whole thing. He went, this story really didn't get out. He would go work out at the Athletes Performance Center almost every day and go see the folks up there. He loved being around the athletes, and the athletes loved being around him, and so did their parents. Very few people have that cross-generation appeal, but Snoop did. And kudos to our bosses. From our first meeting with Snoop, we're like, this can work. and he made it work. But I will be honest, there is a point on the second Sunday of the games, where we're about ready to go on. I'm coming out from the area where I'm doing my work, and I turn the corner, and Snoop and Martha Stewart are sitting there on the couch. I go, what the hell has happened to my career? What am I doing here? I got Snoop and Martha Stewart to do equestrian highlights. Nowhere on any bingo card in my life did I expect that to be the case, but gosh, they were awesome. And it was, it added to, look, the Paris Olympics are the best Olympics we've had, certainly since London, maybe in the modern games. And it has really ratcheted up the attention for not just Milan, Cortina, which is right during the Super Bowl when we're out here next year for the Super Bowl, but of course, LA coming up in 2028. That's going to be awesome for America, and all U.S. athletes are inspired working out every day, knowing a home Olympics for the first time and the only time really for them is coming their way.
Oh, God, it was so good. Presentation, everything. Our family was glued. All right, let's get into the Niner game. You brought up Candlestick. And look, Mike, from the outside looking in, all right, Niner fans, I want your opinion on this because Niner fans internally are losing their minds. They've got questions on the coach. They've got questions on the quarterback. They got questions on the defense. I mean, we're knocking the DC every single week. And, you know, our downfield passing. What is your diagnosis as to what has happened to the 49ers this year?
Okay, deep breath. First off, coach. When you start to get to the coach, you get to the insanity phase of your thoughts. Like, if Kyle was not the Niners coach, about 28 teams would hire him in 5 seconds. Honestly, like, unless you have a coach you love, who's great, who's perfect, they dump their guy for Kyle in 5 seconds. So stop that insanity, okay? When you take the best player in the league on offense, the most unique and talented player off of your team, you're not going to be as good. And then when you have instability with the receivers, and when you come out to a game, this is not disrespecting these individuals, but when you come out against the defending world champions and you're lining up Jacob Cowling and Chris Conley and Ricky Pearsall, that's not Ayuk, Samuel, and Jennings. Mm-hmm. And any team that you take the top three, the 4 top options are off the field. 4 of the 5, Kittle would be in that top 4. 4 of the 5 top options are off the field, and you're playing the best team in the league, and you're still hanging with them. So it's been a bad run. This happens to teams. It's not a Super Bowl hangover. It also happens to teams when you pay your superstar guys a lot of money. It's really hard to have high-quality depth. So this is just a little bit of a phase here. Having said that, no one has run away with the division.
Yep.
You've got a great chance to win the division and get a home playoff game. If not, you still have a really good opportunity to be a wild card team. That's why I think this game's important. Usually you're looking at Dallas, San Francisco, and you're thinking, hey, this could be for who's going to be a number 1 seed, all that stuff, head-to-head, very important game. It might be important head-to-head for a wild card tiebreaker. I mean, that's possible. And the other cautionary tale, I know I'm giving you a bunch here, but Kyle started 3-4 before and got into the NFC Championship game. That doesn't mean it's going to happen this year, but it's just a recent reminder there is a ton of freeway ahead in this season. So don't panic yet. There are signs of concern now. No Ayuk is going to hurt. That's irreplaceable. Can Christian come back and be anything close to what he has been? That's unknown. Huge factors. There's still a lot of freeway down there, so just don't panic yet.
Mike, I love you already. I can send you a gift basket because I try to talk this guy off from panicking, and he won't listen to me about Shanahan or any of this stuff. So maybe Mike Tirico saying that will help my guy Joe Shasky here. We're talking to Mike Tirico, the voice of Sunday Night Football, of course, NBC. You can check out the game on NBC Sports and the Peacock app. He's here on the River Islands guest line. You mentioned a 3-4 start in 2022. How about the 3-5 start in 2021? NFC Championship game appearance. They had the 3-game losing streak last year. And Brock Purdy, there was some turbulence last year with Brock Purdy. What have you seen from him from afar in his second full season as starting quarterback of the 49ers, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, he's not coming off his best game, right? And Spags has done that to people. Spags does that to a lot of people with Kansas City over the years. So that's a hair of a concern. Now I start to read the conversation, which is totally understandable, of is there pressure because it is a true contract year and, you know, Brock's, you can open the negotiating window and all that stuff. like I thought we put the conversation of system quarterback behind, and I still think it should be behind because, he's part of a really good system. And, he makes it go. Let me share this with you, and we'll share this with the audience. The Cowboys have a good emerging linebacker named DeMarvion Overshown. He wears number 13 for them, physical, flies all over the place. Second year out of Texas. He tore his ACL, so didn't play last year. He played at Texas, and he played Brock 4 times when Brock was at Iowa State. And he told us yesterday when we talked to him, or maybe it was Wednesday, I beg your pardon, he said, from his freshman year at Iowa State, we're like, this dude's a baller. He can play. And he's just continued to show that. So we've got to get past that stuff with Brock. Again, you take all these good players around you away, you're not going to be as good. We're seeing it with Kansas City. Look, they're going out and getting guys because Mahomes keeps losing guys. They went out and got Juju back there. They went out and got DeAndre Hopkins. They're getting guys because Mahomes needs players. Patrick Mahomes is having statistically a poor run because the guys around him aren't there. So you got to do these things. So Purdy's not the problem. It might not be a year where things get turned around if the guys don't come back healthy. And obviously, Ayuk gone for the season. It's a hard conference with the NFC North being so good. It's a hard division with the Rams getting healthy and not being sellers all of a sudden. Arizona's a pain, as you guys know. Seattle will never be an easy out, especially when they play at home. So the division's going to be hard. A wild card's going to be hard. It's not going to be a smooth sailing. But there are the people here to get this thing right. Yeah,
I mean, Jordan Mason, although not CMC, has been really good this year for them. Yeah. And obviously George Kittle still, and I just think he's a legend. He's an all-time 49er. He's awesome. I'm looking at this Dallas defense, and they're just not the same. And they're giving up a ton of yards on the run, 143 per game. Do you think that's the recipe for the Niners to get back into this one is run the ball?
Well, if I'm Dallas, I'm scared of that for sure. Dallas has not been a good run defense. They've changed coordinators to Mike Zimmer, and I think you're going through one of those when the coordinators change and the personnel exactly match the new scheme. Like you said, they're bottom 5 in run defense. They're second to last in points allowed in the league. They're missing Micah Parsons, don't know if he's going to come back. They're missing DeMarcus Lawrence. Take your 2 edge players off. Deron Bland, who led the league in interceptions last year, he's been out all season. So you start taking these pieces away, and the guys who fill in may play well. They're not going to play as well. And when you take 2 corners or a corner and 2 edge rushers off a team, they're not going to be as good. Plus, you're making this system change. So, yes, it's a great opportunity against a team in Dallas that does not run it well and does not stop the run to get yourself right. However, they're desperate. They're coming off their bye. They got embarrassed. They got cleaned out at home by Detroit, the worst home loss in Jerry's time there. So don't think they're going to come in and go, well, we're 3-4, we're 3-3, we're not as good. And they know what is on the line for them, and they've been embarrassed as well. So I think there's a little bit of desperation with both teams at play coming into this game, which kind of heightens the stakes for teams that are used to being playoff teams and expect to be playoff teams.
Mike, you mentioned how you met with some of the Cowboys on Wednesday. Is there a built-in pressure there in Dallas? I mean, you got the owner, Jerry Jones. We've seen what he's done on the radio over the last couple of weeks. This week, he's discussing the design of the plays. He doesn't think the design of the plays had been good by Mike McCarthy. And Mike McCarthy said, well, I got to go back and look to see if the design of the plays are good. What is it like in that building, man? Because it feels like they walk on eggshells, especially Dak and the CD connection and everything that's going on with Dallas. Can you tell us about just meeting with them, and can you feel the pressure from that building?
Yeah, no doubt it's a different atmosphere. We used to talk about in sports, hey, can you handle the New York market? Well, playing for the Cowboys is similar to that. It is high intensity, every possible angle covering the Cowboys on a regular basis, expectations of championship or not. The owner is the general manager. There's no setup like that anywhere else in sports. You have to go back to Al Davis, really, to find where the owner is making the personnel decisions with his son, Stephen Jones, who's very involved, as much involved in football as Jerry is. And there are other personnel folks. It's not just those two. But It's a different feel. They have tours coming through the building on a regular basis. People can walk by and watch players, practicing, get warmed up, and things like that. It's a little bit of a high visibility circus at times, but if you can handle that pressure, then you are not in any way thrown off when you come to Santa Clara. It's a big playoff game, and the place is rocking. Or you go to Green Bay, or you go anywhere in the league. So I think it takes the right kind of guy to thrive in Dallas. And for the most part, you go in with your eyes open. Look, this generation, which holds a camera up to its own face and to a mirror at every turn, is really. And I've got 2 kids in this generation, so I get it. They're very comfortable being in the spotlight, right? They thrive it, they seek it. For some people, it's great. For others, it's not. And if that's the case, when you're a free agent, you go to Jacksonville or to Cleveland or to a market where you don't get this much attention. A lot of the guys in Dallas know what they're signing up for. It does put an extra pressure. But here's what I'll say. The story came out this week that, maybe there's too much attention on the Cowboys. Maybe practicing while there are tours going on is a bother. It didn't stop them from winning 12 games last year. Mm-hmm. It didn't stop them from winning playoff games the couple of years before that. It is not the reason that Dak Prescott and the Cowboys couldn't get the ball spiked against San Francisco at home in the playoffs a couple of years ago, right? That one play could be the difference in them winning that game or losing that game. So it has nothing to do with that. I think that's just kind of trying to find a little scab and picking at it. Look, it's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure in the NFL. Wherever you go, there's a little bit more there. And everybody in Dallas knows that they are part of it. And I think at the end of their careers, they want to say they play for the Cowboys.
No doubt. Mike Tirico here on the River Islands guest line on the Morning Rush on 95.7 The Game. Speaking of pressure, you've dealt with pressure your entire career. You had to replace Al Michaels on Sunday Night Football. And, growing up, Monday Night Football was a thing, right? It was Monday Night Football, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 o'clock Eastern. And Sunday Night Football was on ESPN and TNT or whatnot, but didn't have the cachet as Monday Night Football. But now Sunday Night Football has become the it thing, averaging over 22.2 million viewers across NBC and Peacock, pacing to be Primetime's #1 show for the 14th consecutive year. And you've been a part of that, whether it's hosting the pregame show or being in the booth with Chris Collinsworth. Can you speak to us about Sunday Night Football and what you guys do to make it such a great production?
Well, thank you for sharing and saying that. Yeah, we love it. For me, I did a decade of Monday Night Football and covered the NBA and covered a ton of big events in my 25 years at ESPN, and it was great. And it was truly a ceiling in so many respects for my career at that point. At least I felt that way. But then I've come to NBC, and I've been fortunate enough now, this is my 8th year here, to do so many events that you would say are even a bigger scale of event, like the Olympic Games, like the Kentucky Derby, like the Indy 500, like these Sunday night games. It gives you a little goosebump when you hear Carrie Underwood get started with that theme song for Sunday Night Football. It matters to the players. We were with Aaron Rodgers last week before the Jets game, and Aaron said, "Hey, big game Sunday night. Stars ball out on Sunday night." It's like, yep, that's right. That's the attitude players have. Because when you think about it, everybody's been at their game during the day. They're either flying home or they're at home. They're hanging out with friends. Families, you guys watch a day full of football. Your fantasy football game has come down to this game or maybe this game and the Monday night game. And everybody who's a football fan at some point at least stops and checks in on the Sunday night game for a while. So we know we've got the eyes and the attention, and our production team week in and week out just brings it with new ideas and fresh ways to tell the stories. And the one thing we like to do is we like to be able to tell stories about the people who are playing. We can talk EXO, and Chris does that. We can talk about T.J. Watt on his third step is where his power and energy and his moves come, and break down all that stuff. But I'll give you a great example. Dak Prescott got engaged this week. So we talked to him about his engagement and what happened there. And we share that story. I believe as the Olympic Network, one of the things we love to do is tell stories about people. Because if you are engaged in the person who's playing more than the laundry, more than their jersey and the number on their back, then you care about them. And I think we all love to hear stories of how people have succeeded and triumphed to get to where they are. We love sharing those stories. So that's one of the approaches we try to take during the game, in addition to, Brock Purdy and what his mechanics are and all that stuff. So some mix of that. Hopefully it keeps everybody entertained. We're not solving the problems of the world, but for 3 hours, if you come, learn a little bit about football, learn a bit about the humans who play it, then we get on the plane and go home and do it again the next week, and we feel pretty good about it.
No, it's a beautiful product because my favorite is when you guys show a high school football game from that area, right? And I'm thinking in my head, are they going to go De La Salle this week? Are they going to go Pittsburgh High? Are they going to go St. Ignatius? Like, where are they going to go? Because it makes you realize the grassroots of the pro game is the high school level, and I love that aspect. Do you know which high school you're going to focus on this week?
I can't tell you. I can't give away the power secrets. We need to keep the intrigue until Sunday. I saw it on our list of production elements this week, and I don't remember which one to be.
It's okay.
To be perfectly honest with you, but we do have not just conversations. If there's somebody from the area on our production team, they'll suggest a game. Hey, like when we were in Michigan for the Lions game week 1, I suggested to our guys, because that's where I live, hey, you should go here because the number 1 recruit in the country plays at quarterback, who's going to LSU, plays at Belleville High School. So we went there. In the New Jersey area, our New Jersey folks took care of that. So whether it's a Bay Area person on our staff, like, hey, you're responsible for that, or our guys start to do their own research to find the one that has a story. Last week, we went to a high school that Joey Porter Jr., who plays for the Steelers, the high school he played at. And they happen to be 8-1 and ranked 2nd or 3rd in their district. So we try to tell that story. And thanks for noticing that. And you're right. High school football is the grassroots. Friday nights are special. Flag football, as it emerges around the country, is really cool because so many young women, girls are playing this sport that they enjoy watching. It's good to always touch back on the roots of not just the players, but the sport in general, because those are the folks who are not just our audience. Those are the people who are the ones who make this sport thrive and become the biggest sport in our country. And that's why it's such a pleasure to be involved in the big game every Sunday night in what's the one entertainment vehicle in our country that brings people together. You're going to have Republicans and Democrats and black and white, and male and female, and every other box in the census form, and a whole bunch of religions. A whole bunch of those people are going to be sitting in the same section wearing 49ers colors on Sunday night, right?
Yep.
That's the cool part of the sport, and that without getting too melancholy about it, that's why I love being involved with sports at this level.
It's the best. High-fiving random strangers and hugging people you've never met before in your life as you're walking out saying Cowboys suck. You interviewed a lot of people in sports. We talked about Steph Curry. You bring up how you did a deep dive on Dak and him getting engaged this week. Fred Warner is someone that I just think is a special human being. If I, had a daughter, I'd want him to marry my daughter. I want him a part of my family. He's a stand-up dude in an era where it feels like there aren't a lot of them these days. And I love everything about this guy, the way he conducts himself. He could run my corporation. I would want him in the trenches. He's just so candid and such a great leader. You've met a lot of people. Where does Fred Warner stack up as a human being and then as a football player of the people you've met?
You nailed it. Exactly. Matter of fact, we're going to meet with Fred. We're scheduled to, at least, after 49ers practice this afternoon. That's why we come into town to, instead of doing the Zoom calls, to be there, watch practice, and be there in person and sit across the table from the players. That there's nothing more real than being doing the work and seeing people firsthand and talking to them. And we're going to hopefully visit with Fred after practice today. And everything you said is right. He's one of those special leaders, and his game seems to get better. He seems to perform at a higher level, and you just love seeing that because those things last. It's funny when you mention the pick of the stick and Navarro Bowman, like just how good that group was. And we're with Jeff Ulbrich last week in Pittsburgh on Saturday, and he's telling us Patrick Willis stories, right? How Brick was sure that, here comes some other guy they drafted and, he'll sit behind me for a year or two. And then after a couple of days, he's like, okay, I got a problem here. This guy's really good. And then Ulbrich started teaching Willis, and Willis is looking over to him on the sidelines during games. And all of a sudden, Jeff Ulbrich got the coaching bug because of the time he took mentoring Patrick Willis. And that's how Jeff Ulbrich has risen to be a head coach in the NFL.
Yep.
Never would have known that story, right?
Yep.
But it just talks about the tradition of players and being leaders. And Fred is not just a leader in terms of mentoring young players on a defense, keeping things together as a new coordinator, and then Nick Sorensen pieces things together. But he's also a guy who's helping create a legacy, or continue a legacy, really, at this position. So you're right. He's one of the special ones. He's one of the guys who gets the attention. I think because the 49ers offense always is dynamic, that's always the front porch to the conversation on San Francisco. It comes first. But Fred Warner's as good as anybody in that building, and he's going to be a big reason if this team turns it around, that they do turn it around. So I'm looking forward to visiting with him later this afternoon.
Yeah, he's one forced fumble away from tying the great Patrick Willis to Hall of Famer for worst forced fumbles in 49ers history here. We're talking to Mike Tirico. Last one for you here. Tom Brady is entering the broadcast world. Obviously, he's gone through the first 8 weeks, and maybe you have some thoughts on that, but he's also going to help out the Las Vegas Raiders as a part owner, right? And how difficult would your job be if you were not able to attend these production meetings? Because I just find it, boy, Brady's not going to be able to be in the meetings and talk to the coaches and get some sense of the game plan. And then maybe some other teams will see him on the sideline saying, well, wait a minute, you have some Raider ties. I don't want you talking about players. This could be potential tampering here. How difficult would that be for you, Mike, if you were not allowed to go to production meetings due to your ownership duties or whatever that Tom Brady is going through here?
We're not even talking first world problems. We're talking half world problems.
Half world problems. Yeah, no. Never on this show. We're never talking worldwide problems. No.
Look. It would be a problem for me because I'm 5'7", slow, old, not athletic, and didn't win 7 Super Bowls. For Tom Brady, it's much less of a problem because, one, Tom Brady's observations are about as good as anybody you want to hear from in the game right now. Secondly, at least to me, I think players want to talk to Tom Brady for themselves, right? I saw him sit down with Patrick Mahomes. So maybe it's not in the traditional production meeting setting.
Gotcha.
But I'm going to guess players are reaching out, or if Tom sees them on the field before the game, he may come say hi. There's so many old teammates and friends in the business still, right? That there's going to be some sort of conversation. Now, I trust Tom and his legacy, his history, the quality of individual he is. I don't think Tom is bringing palace secrets back to the Raiders. I really don't. I trust him as much as anybody I would trust. So I wouldn't say that that's happening. Look, I totally understand why some folks are uncomfortable with it. I worked with John Gruden, and when Jay Gruden, John's brother, was an assistant coach, there were teams who were concerned about letting John in the building because he may tell his brother something if it was a team in the same division. Paranoia is the oxygen for football coaches at every level, and that's understandable. Yeah. But I don't think it's impacting Tom in his ability to do the job. I don't think the audience is being cheated by it. They have to work differently, right? It's not the same opportunity we have. I love having Chris at practice with me because Chris sees things that I would never see. But Tom's finding a way to still, one, provide the viewers information. He's working with one of my favorite people in Kevin Burkhardt, and they've made a really good team. And I will say this, and you didn't ask this, but so we have Dallas and San Francisco, and the last San Francisco game Tom broadcast, as you all know out here. The last Dallas game was Dallas-Detroit, and Tom was the broadcaster there. I enjoy him in the booth. I think for somebody who's done 6 or 7 games in his career, he sounds fabulous. I've communicated with him back and forth before the season, started the season. I know how hard he works, and you can hear it when you watch the broadcast. So good for Tom and good for football because on Sundays, I want to hear what Troy has to say. I want to hear what Tom has to say as a fan because we always keep learning. So I'm glad it's working out for him, and I'm glad it's working out for Fox. It may put them at a slight disadvantage, but I don't think it's impacting what they're doing. The shows are fun to watch, and I enjoy them.
That's a great point. That's a great point there, Mike. I know we've kept you for over 30 minutes, but when you're in the Bay Area, where are you going? Restaurants? You don't have to give away all your secrets. We don't want the paparazzi coming after you here. But is it the House of Prime Rib? You going up to Napa Valley, French Laundry? I don't know. NBC has a big budget here. Get the NBA now, Mike. I mean, where are you going in the Bay?
They're all clamoring for that. So I am partial to Palo Alto because my son just graduated Stanford last year. So we've been out there a lot the last 5 years.
Old pro, a little bar,
he's
little bar
graduated.
action?
I'm kind of bummed that he's not out here this weekend as a student. So I haven't been out for 3 or 4 days. But yeah, we love running around all the good spots in Palo Alto. It's a great area. We absolutely loved his time out at Stanford, and lucky enough to have somebody who got his mom's brains and was good enough to be on the farm there, get an education. Didn't get his dad's brains for sure, but no, this is an area we love coming out here, and so excited that our Super Bowl year next year ends here in Santa Clara. So we're excited about that as well.
Hey, you didn't want to go to Syracuse, Michael? So with your son, you got to be some discipline.
I know. It's you know what? After yesterday, I'm kind of bummed about my alma mater. I don't want to talk about our football. Our quarterback threw 3 pick sixes. So, but it's okay. It's okay. We're coming back next week.
Mike, I'm hoping your son.
We've already turned the page. Let's go. We'll break down the film, and we'll get the Hokies up in the dome.
There you go.
I'm hoping your son's a roaster, and he's listening to us occasionally, every now and then. But you are, and I've told Bonta this.
Yeah.
For my money, you are the best in every single sport right now. And just thank you for coming on. I always love hearing you talk on these airwaves.
You guys very kind. It's always good to be back out here and great to be on with you. I look forward to doing it later on in the year. We see the Niners, I guess, in Buffalo the Sunday after Thanksgiving. So I'd like to see them get on a run before that. That would be a heck of a scene. So you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy the game Sunday.
You have a great call, Mike. Have a great call. Mike Tirico here on the Morning Roast, courtesy of the River Islands guest line. Sunday Night Football, the voice of Sunday Night Football, Olympic host, Kentucky Derby. It's going to be out here this weekend watching the Niners practice with Chris Collinsworth.